That was so shitty. Alright, I got this one.
It's all you, man.
I'm gonna take it nice and slow.
Alright.
This guy go first. Alright,
That was so close.
the green one.
Go for it.
The green one's on there. What is that? That's the worst ever. It's like a total good one. That's shit. Go ahead, you take my thing.
Alright. That was good, man.
That's another strike.
Strike.
Hey, that's a go. Okay, I'm starting to get the groove back.
I like it.
Alright, I'm going for the snare. It's gonna be a snare. Alright, after the shit like that. Come on. I'm doing.
It's a good attempt.
Well, when Isaiah was staying down here for you know, the training session, we'd go out and get food and stuff. So we'd actually go to Rubio's and get fish tacos. And at the time, we were still trying to discover like what's a good name for us to be called. You know, we went through numerous dumb names like, you know, slashing pigeons and stupid like one toe, one knee, stupid names like that. But then we were just like baffled, and then we just sat there at Rubio's just like thinking, and all of a sudden we saw this dessert called El Chocolate Diablo. So we're just looking at it, and we're like, why don't we just call our team El Chocolate Diablo? And that's how we got our name, El Chocolate Diablo.
Nice. It's Chocolate Diablo? I thought it was Chocolate Diablo.
No, it's El Chocolate Diablo. There's a little accent on the E that people don't know, but usually at tournaments they don't have that. But it's El Chocolate Diablo. That's our name that we came up with.
Nice. Did you come to regret it at all?
No, it was a funny. We didn't regret our name at all because it was a funny name.
Nice.
People didn't know who they were up against until. I mean, it was funny because people would see, oh, I'm against El Chocolate Diablo, and they're like, whatever, they're just scrubs. And then once they actually came to the screen or the Smash station, they would see me and Isaiah, and they would look at each other like, oh fuck, like oh, that's them. So no, I don't regret that name. It's a fun name.
That's awesome.
So that's how we actually got our name.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah. So you guys had that going in, and you guys actually kind of had the market on you know, the team style of play. Like no one was really playing like you guys at your level for a while.
Yeah, well, I believe that in teams you have to work really well with your partner. You have to have pretty good friendships. You know, be good with your partner and you know, just not argue and stuff. Be one. You know, Isaiah and I actually after TG4 and TG5, you know, after teams and stuff, we actually started talking a lot and becoming really good friends. And you know, through the whole Smash thing, we wanted to support each other so we can go to tournaments together and you know, be like you know, a little team, you know, to support each other, travel around the world, you know, and see new things, play Smash for money. So that's how we actually started to become really good teams. You know, the funny thing is we don't, since he lives in NorCal, I live in SoCal, we don't really get much time to practice except for when we go to tournaments. So when we're there, you know, we want to try harder and stuff. We get like 2 or 3 games before we actually play in the team tournament, and and actually get some practice with each other. You know, so we actually bonded more than just, you know, our team play. We were really good friends. So I think that had to at least help us in our long run.
Nice. So then around this time, you know, the East Coast is about items and stuff.
So yeah, so there was this whole controversy with items versus no items. So I think H2IL, Asin's crew and Chillin' Dude, decided to hold their own tournament after TG5, and they wanted, you know, West Coast players to come over there. Obviously, like, the only 2 West Coast players they wanted to come over there was me and Isaiah. You know, they didn't care about Reciferous or anything. Reciferous didn't really travel outside of the States. They just really basically wanted me and Isaiah. And I said that the only way I'd actually go to your tournament is if you up the team's pool, the team's prize money. And because I knew Isaiah and I were a really good team. I mean, Isaiah was telling me, like, that he doesn't really like to play singles. He was more of a teams player. And, you know, I believed in Isaiah, and I said, well, if they up the prize money and over here, will you go with me? Because I didn't want to go alone. You know, I was still 16, 17 at the time, never traveled in my life, didn't want to go over there, you know, with a whole bunch of strangers, you know, without somebody that I knew. So Isaiah said, yeah, if they do that, I'll go. So I convinced Asin and H2IL to raise the prize for teams, and, you know, we were set. We got our tickets, and next thing you know, we were gonna fly over there.
Nice. And you, what was the name of the tournament?
It was, the name of the tournament was Game Over. Nice. H2IL presents Game Over. In Virginia.
Yeah.
Wait, was it Virginia something?
Falls Church.
Was it Falls Church?
I think it was Falls Church.
Falls Church, Virginia, at a retirement home or something. What was it?
American Legion.
American Legion.
Yeah. American Legion. What was when you got off the plane? What were you expecting of the weather there?
Well, I am a sunny California kid. I grew up in California since age of 1, so I've never been anywhere, never in the East Coast. I've always expected the you know, how the weather would be like California weather. You know, it's like I say, I was like a fish in a small pond. I didn't know anything over the pond, you know. So once I took that leap out of the pond, I was in a different area. I was in Virginia, and, you know, I was packing my bags. I was wearing a t-shirt, you know, shorts, getting ready to go to my next tournament, called a Game Over. And once when I stepped foot off the plane, I felt a gust of cold wind. Like, it was like I was in like a freezer. I didn't know what I was doing. I was freezing cold. Once when I got off the plane, I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not in California anymore. This is new territory.
Yeah. When so you got over there, you and Isaiah did, and you know, how was that kind of tournament scene there when you got there?
Well, when we first got to Game Over H2IL, I think Kava housed us. I met Isaiah at the airport. His dad was nice enough to pick us up and house us and take care of us and whatnot. And I had to get some clothes at the airport because I was freezing cold. And I got to his house. We started playing some games with Kava and stuff. And he was like, Kava was just like, oh man, you guys are so good. You're so much better than Asin. You guys are so good. You know, we was just playing some war matches at Kava's house, but then once we got to the place where they were holding it, American Legion, H2IL, I realized there was like nothing around the area. It was just like, it was deserted. It was just like the place. There was nothing around. There was just like no food places around. It was just where the tournament was.
Yeah. And like you started to play, and you guys both did incredibly well, and like, you know, as much as he said he didn't like singles, he's still doing amazingly well in singles.
How did he do that tournament?
He did really well. In fact,
4th, 3rd.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, he ended up in winners finals against Az.
Yeah.
But before then, there was that you were going along and getting hungrier and getting hungrier.
We didn't even talk about my controller, but.
Oh yeah, well
we'll go back.
Yeah, we'll go back to that.
Okay. Well, okay. So when the tournaments first started, I think Chillin' Dude said that he was gonna order pizza for everybody later, and we just had to pay like $5 to get pizza and whatnot. And I didn't eat anything that morning at Kava's house. We went straight to the tournament because everybody was so hyped about the tournament. They wanted to play Smash, you meet all these new people and whatnot. And then the first teams tournament came on. And I think the East Coast at the time weren't too big on teams. They didn't really care. It's all about singles. So Isaiah and I just like stomped through that whole entire bracket. Like we owned them. Like Isaiah was like landing knees left and right. I would go around grabbing people. Isaiah would just knee him, like triple knee him. And we won that tournament. And then Andon was like topping me. I think we were against Andon and Azin in the finals. And then after Andon's like, okay, so there you got what you wanted. Now it's time for singles and whatnot. So I was like, okay, sure, let's continue going and whatnot. And I started after, it was during dinner time when I got really hungry. But during that, I packed some beef jerky in my backpack and whatnot. And I was going to munch on some of that. But I think Kava's friend at the time was really hungry, so I ended up giving him my beef jerky, so I didn't have anything to eat. So I was going through the tournament, and I was going through this tournament without no food for whatever amount of times. I couldn't sleep the night before because it was too cold. It was a strange place for me. So I was just going through this whole tournament without any water, any food, any sleep, and it was just like I think it was my third major tournament where I was trying to get adapt to the tournament scene, and next thing you know, I was fighting Chillin' Dude. I think it was my third round.
And then I think you started out as Marth, right? Like you didn't.
Yeah, at that tournament I was strictly all Marth. I was a Marth player. Nobody else there was like a Marth player. Like there were a couple of Marth players and whatnot, but no, I was the true Marth player there. I think that was the first time I actually met husband and wife too, and Neo, and I actually played Neo in a bunch of friendlies, and I was showing Neo certain things like how I was dashing and whatnot, because he was a Roy player, and he was asking me all these questions like, oh, how come you don't wave dash, whatnot, and all this stuff, and I was like, this is why. So I was playing him, and I was dash dancing left and right, and he was like, oh, okay. So he started learning a couple of things from me from that tournament, but after that, I mean, I was just tired, sleep deprived and all that stuff, and I fought Chillin' Dude, and the match was crazy, because I can remember at first we were playing on a little screen, like a little TV screen, and nobody was around us, there was no crowd, and all of a sudden, I think after Chillin' Dude got my first, his first kill on me or something, I start hearing people start yelling go Chillin', you can do it, you can beat that California guy or whatever, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? I was still dazed, since I was so tired, and then I look behind me and I see a whole crowd of people starting to look at us playing, and I was just trying to concentrate as much as I can, you can get through this, you can do this, just kept on repeating that in the back of my head, and it came down to the point where all I needed to do was edge guard Chillin'. I did a really good combo on him. I threw him up, and I smashed him across the screen. And all I had to do was grab the ledge and that was it, or just smash him out. And I guess it got the best of me. He came back. Once he grabbed that ledge, I got so nervous. I saw these people behind me. That was the first time I actually saw a crowd and people rooting against me. And Chillin' Dude, I guess he got that extra strength at the end, and he beat me, and I was knocked into losers.
That was your very first time being knocked into losers, right?
Yeah, I was never used to losing. I mean, that was a major shock. That I can't believe I actually lost too when I lost to Chillin' Dude. I couldn't really believe it. It was so close. I could have done so many things differently, and if granted I was got a little more sleep or something the night before, a little bit of food or something, I could have definitely beaten him. But it was, I lost, and the worst part was that I lost to Chillin' Dude.
Yeah. What did describe a little bit about that. Like, his chillin' dude he was just insane. Like, right? Like, at that time, he was like 14 years old.
Chillin' Dude was, I think he was 14 years old at the time. He was just a big shit talker. And I did not like to lose to shit talkers. I mean, coming from West Coast, beating Sam, making him shut up, and Chillin' Dude. I lost to Chillin' Dude. You know, the best player on the West Coast going to the East Coast, losing to a 14-year-old. I mean, getting knocked in the losers. Not a good, not a good representation of the West Coast. You know,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah. But you fought your way back, right? And it was tough.
Afterwards, I was in losers bracket, but I was determined. I had the eye of the tiger. I mean, I came all the way to the East Coast, unknown surroundings, cold as hell, a California kid. Didn't have many friends, you know, but I just, you know, I was talking to Eddie from Chicago, and we were just talking about, you know, just basically life stuff. Got my mind off the game a little bit, and I fought my way back to the losers bracket. Like, it was a tough losers bracket, but I fought hard. I think I went through DA, Dave, all through the losers bracket, climbed my way back up, and then in the end, little did I know it, I was going against Chillin' Dude again in losers bracket.
Dude, how did that go?
Actually, the tournament went a little overhand, and you know, there was no food or anything, and I think American Legion kicked us out, so we had to resume the tournament at Azin's house. So once I got to Azin's house, you know, I was a skinny, tired, like scared kid. I went to Azin's house, and Azin's mom saw me, and she was like, "Oh, this kid's so sad. He needs some food or something," you know. And she actually fed me some like homemade spaghetti. And once I got that homemade spaghetti, man, like my face lit up. I was like energetic. Again, I was like, I felt more comfortable, and then I fought Chillin' Dude again, and I beat the shit out of him. Like, I took him out, like, no problem this time.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that getting that food inside you, there must have been like, you know, Popeye eating the spinach.
Yeah, so getting the food in me, it just relieved me. Like, my body wasn't as stressed, you know, I got some energy, you know, food is energy. Like, you get so much more, you know, you're more awake, you perform better. It's like, people are saying, like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, you know, it helps you perform better.
Yeah.
You know, I never eat breakfast, but, you know, maybe I should. You know, breakfast helps you, food helps you, you know, it's kind of like Goku before he goes into, you know, before he goes into a fight or whatever, he eats all his food and stuff, and next thing you know it, like, he's like the strongest guy in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With the, so that was getting late into the night. This is like, you know, moving on. I think Isaiah had fought Azin. It was a close match, but I guess Isaiah eventually lost.
Yeah, there was whole controversy between that because the whole items thing. Isaiah beat Azin in the West Coast with items, but when it came down to the East Coast, Isaiah was going against Azin again in the winners finals, and there was no items, and Azin ended up beating Isaiah. So then the East Coast had something to prove that, you know, the West Coast players weren't as good as they say they were, only because they were using items. So that was the whole controversy between Azin and Isaiah.
Interesting. And then, so after he lost, after Isaiah lost that.
So after Isaiah lost, you know, ended up having fighting Isaiah again in the losers bracket, and I beat Isaiah. And then that was it. It was me versus Azin, except I had to beat Azin 2 sets. It was like West Coast versus East Coast showdown at this point. Like, this is it. Like, who's the best in the nation?
Yeah.
Like, was it Azin or was it me? And we fought, and it was, I remember it because Azin was known as the master of diversity and stuff, and I was just a strictly Marth player, but I also had a Captain Falcon under my sleeve because I was training with Isaiah, so I knew how to play Captain Falcon too, and I was also a Falcon player in 64, so I had Marth and Captain Falcon at the time. So I was playing Azin, and he was like picking all these characters like Peach and stuff. I guess he was he had games to throw since I had to beat him 2 sets, so he wanted to see who I was weak against, and he started using all these characters like Peach, Sheik, more, you know, whatever. So then I think I was playing as Peach, I beat his Peach, and then he went Fox, and he beat my, I remember we using Captain Falcon, and he went Fox or something, and he beat my Captain Falcon, and I went back to Marth, and then he Marthed it on me. Yeah, that's what happened. he Marth Diddled me, and he beat me in a Marth Diddle, because I was really weak in Marth Diddle. So I went Captain Falcon, I beat its Marth, and then he went Fox to beat my Captain Falcon, and I went back to Marth, and I beat his Fox, and then he went back to Marth again, and I beat his Marth. And I ended up winning the whole tournament. And it was funny, because it was late again, it was just like TG4, it was like 2 a.m. in the morning, everybody was like around in Azin's living room, around the small TV, and it was just like me versus Azin, and once I beat him, like everybody was speechless, like they couldn't believe it, like I came back from loser's bracket, you know, and I beat him 2 sets, and it's like something hard to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And Azin was, man, Azin was sad, like I saw his face, he was sad. Like, I would be sad too, but, I mean, he was representing the East Coast at the time. But, I mean, I pulled the impossible again, and I managed to come up on top.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, and after that, was it kind of like, that wasn't the end of the story between East Coast and West Coast for sure, but it was like something to kind of like show that, yeah, Ken is like the best.
Yeah, at the time, like, after I won TG5 and then H2IL, like, people were starting to realize, like, you know, I wasn't just about items too, I had some skill in me, and they could actually declare like a national champion in the States at the time.
Yeah. Nice. And that was you.
That was me. The kid that came from a small pond who didn't know anything about wave dashing or advanced techniques, just started coming on top.
So you
were
a
new character.
Yeah, at that point you were like the greatest in the country.
At that point I was definitely declared the best in the nation at that time.
Cool. Excellent.
Name?
Well,
Did he tell you that? Did he tell you that?
He talked about like a little bit about that.
What did he say?
Like, he didn't really go into detail about it, so maybe you can actually.
I don't. Do you think it's my place to say?
Well, you can say like, you know, where the name Mel comes from. I mean, everybody knows where it comes from. It's just nobody, you know. Well, you know, puts it in perspective because you knew the guy.
Yeah, sure. That's not a secret to me. I don't think it.
No.
It's whatever.
So where was Most? Most was in.
So after H2IL, we were looking for the next major tournament. You know, Isaiah and I actually had money to travel. I mean, winning one underground tournament gives us money to have enough money to travel to the next underground tournament. So the next big tournament was the Most, happening in the Midwest. It was actually like 2 hours already.
I know.
And it's just on our second tournament.
Outrageous.
Okay. So, going over again, the Most was a tournament hosted by Stilius, Ilias, and I forgot the other guy's name. But Most 3 was happening in Texas. I think it was Dallas. It was Dallas or Houston.
Yeah.
Dallas.
I think it was somewhere in Texas.
Yeah, it was Dallas, and I think I don't think that any of the East Coast players wanted to go to that, so it was basically me and Isaiah and a couple of new SoCal guys against the Midwest and Crystal City, Caveman, Rob, and Zulu.
And when you got there, the big thing everyone takes away from Most 3 is the epic showdown between you and Isaiah. So, and putting a little background to this, like, Isaiah doesn't normally, like, you know, just try super hard against you.
Yeah, to be honest, when I play Isaiah, he's very weird in the aspects of competing in 1v1. He doesn't really want to try too hard. I mean, he'll just play, but he won't try as hard. And in every tournament I played Isaiah, like, every single time I beat him, I usually would apologize and be like, oh, sorry, Isaiah, or something like that, you know, because I know he's not always playing his best against me or anybody for that matter. Like, if he played any other player that he likes or his friends, he would play his best against. But Most 3 was the first time, like, Isaiah gave it his all. He became, I think he became a Super Saiyan that tournament.
Nice.
So, we went to the Most 3, me and Isaiah, and he was really excited. It was the first time I'd actually seen him this excited to go to a tournament. I mean, obviously he's like excited for me and him to be teams and, you know, winning teams and whatnot, because we were a very good team, but also because this girl was gonna be there. You know, one of his Smash 64 friends. I think her name is Melissa. So that's why he always had the tag of Mel. And yeah, we went to that tournament and we fought against Crystal City, you know, Rob and Caveman stuff, and I met Isaiah in the grand finals, and he's just like, it was just a totally new person. Like, it was crazy. Like, it wasn't the same old Isaiah that I would be used to playing. He was just like, he would get everything perfect. He would get some combos, and he would just knee. He just knee the crap out of me. And I couldn't survive it. I just didn't know what was going on. And that was the first time when Isaiah actually tried, and Melissa was actually cheering him on. And I really think, like, if she actually went to every tournament and supported Isaiah in, like, his singles career, he would probably be the best, you know, when he actually tries.
Yeah. It was an amazing match. I mean, like, even though he was, like, going all Super Saiyan, like, you were still in there, and, like, through the whole thing, like, you guys went back and forth.
Yeah, that tournament actually set the bar between, like, a Marth versus Captain Falcon. A lot of people kept on saying that Marth was, like, super, like, good against Captain Falcon. Like, Captain Falcon didn't have a chance. But after that tournament, like, people were saying, oh, Captain Falcon does do well against Marth, you know. He can fight against Marth. And after they saw Isaiah, like, soaring through the air with his knees, you know. But yeah, that was, I mean, I you know, I tried my best. I give it my all every tournament, you know, no matter the outcome. But that was the first tournament where, you know, I got utterly, like, it was kind of close, but let's be honest, I got, yeah.
Now, there was one moment that I always think about, which is he like follows you off, he hits you off, like, with a couple knees. He's trying to push you out.
I know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So there's a moment where Isaiah actually, like, tries to go in with a light knee to edge guard me and stuff. But I knew that he was gonna do that, so I hit him before he does that, and I hit him again, and I grabbed the ledge and I spike him right afterwards. And I mean, that was, like, a huge comeback. And everybody, like, in that room was like, it's just like their eyes wide open. They didn't even know what was going on. It was just like a mess. But I mean, it happened. That was just like pure instinct what I was doing. You know, I didn't plan that or anything. I knew what he was gonna do, because I saw him coming at me, and I just reacted fast when he did.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, there was just, like, that was the thing that, like, got me onto this. Was just like that back and forth. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was definitely back and forth. I mean, the East Coast players got a hold of that video too, and they were watching and stuff. I mean, they didn't want to travel to the most. You know, Isaiah and I were, you know, on that epic quest to, like, go to as many tournaments as can to support each other. You know, and you know, after every tournament we would end up spending the money so we can travel to the next tournament, because we weren't making too much from these tournaments. They're all underground. Not many players were entered. The fee wasn't high. It was like either $5, whatever. You know, so we weren't making too much money, but enough to get us to the next tournament and hopefully make more money.
Nice. You know, I'm just have to format this really quick. Tape here too, so I'm waiting for that to happen.
Okay, so I remember it was TG6 and then FC.
Okay.
TG6 then FC.
Gotcha.
Because I remember Sass, he took me out at FC, or TG6.
Yeah.
And then FC came around, and I wanted revenge so dearly on him.
That's right.
So, yeah.
So what happened at TG6? I mean, was this was like, you know, the people bill it as, like, the first international tournament.
Well, did we talk about why TG6 had no items?
Oh, yeah.
I told you the story about
right.
Eddie versus Matt Deasy.
So we have to talk about that.
Okay. So TG6 comes along, and that's the next major tournament. And again, more East Coast players were interested in going to TG6, and, you know, more Midwest players were interested in going to TG6. And actually, Matt Deasy actually contacted some players from Japan, and they ended up, and Captain Jack, which is the best Sheik player in Japan, ended up going to TG6. So it was more hyped for more players to come, because it was just not just international. It was not just a national thing. It was more of an international thing now, since we had at least, like, one Japanese player over here who, you know, sets the bar higher. And the difference with TG6 was more East Coast players wanted to go because Matt Deasy said that it was not going to have items. I mean, there was
some crazy stages still going on, but no items, because I remember a match that I saw at TG5 where it was Eddie the Ganondorf Slayer versus Matt Deasy, and Matt Deasy was camping Eddie on Venom, and Eddie was holding his ground, just not chasing Matt Deasy like I would do, but he was just sitting there, and two Pokeballs come out, and Eddie got a Scizor and another Pokemon, and just instantly utterly raped Matt Deasy from 0 to 100% death in like the first like 2 seconds, and then it happened again. And after that, Matt Deasy said, "F this, no more items." So he took out items for TG6. So I mean, it was more welcoming for all the Smashers to come. It was getting bigger. The Smash community was getting bigger. More people were signing on Smash boards, and it just became like the first like not just national but international tournament at the time.
Nice. So yeah, we had like Captain Jack. I guess that was what was making it an international affair, right?
Yeah, actually, Captain Jack. When I first played Captain Jack in a friendly and stuff, I actually, believe it or not, when I played him, when I was playing against him, it was totally different, a new style for me. I wasn't used to it. I just couldn't kill him. I just didn't understand why I couldn't kill him. Like every single time I'd smash him at like 100%, he'd live. I didn't know that. Like how did you do that? And that was actually the first time I actually learned about DI. Like I didn't know anything about DI. The East Coast players knew about it. Like they knew about DI. I guess this is the time frame between Most and TG6. The East Coast players, I guess YouTube was out by then too, so they were looking at Japanese videos, so they knew what DI was. I didn't, I don't really check the internet much. I was just playing Smash, at the time I was still learning how to wave dash and whatnot, so I was implementing wave dash into my game, and all of a sudden when I played Captain Jack,
Recording. Cool. So where did we leave off?
TG6.
That's right. So
I just finished with DI.
Yeah.
And Captain Jack.
So yeah, because we were talking about how you were just learning about DI and then incorporating that into your thing. So how was like Captain Jack and fighting him? Was that did you play some friendlies against him?
Yeah, I was playing friendlies against Captain Jack the day before the tournament, just to see the difference of the skill level between Japanese and the Americans. I always knew that the Japanese players were better than the American players at any video games, according to like Street Fighter and all that stuff. I knew that, so I was like, oh, this guy's probably better than I am, so I gotta play him to see what I can learn. So I played him, and like I said, the thing that I found out the most was like he didn't die. Like I just smashed the crap out of him, he didn't die. I just didn't understand. So then I figured out that it's because he DI'd, and not a lot of players knew how to DI. I mean, most of these players knew, like Azin. I think Chudat and stuff knew too, but I didn't know. So I went into that tournament like with Isaiah and I always obviously took teams, but then singles came around, and it's just the back of my head like DI. So I was trying to adjust, and the thing about DI is it's hard to adjust right on the spot. You have to play the game for a while to have it. So during my single matches, every single time, I would want to get hit so I could practice my DI. So during like my fights and stuff, I would be like, go ahead and hit me so I can try to live your attack and stuff, and that totally threw off my game. I played Sasta for like third round, and it was a Peach player on Dreamland, and it just it was so much, and I was trying to adapt DI, so I was letting him hit me and I was trying to DI, and then I ended up ultimately losing the match against Sastifer third round. And I was like, oh man, like I can't believe I lost the match against Sastifer, a Peach player. So then I fought my way back up from loser's bracket and whatnot, and then I ended up fighting Dai Superfly, and I think that was the first time Dai Superfly beat me, and I always beat Dai Superfly. I always beat Dai Superfly, but that was the first time he beat me. So that was, I think TG6 was my first time I got like 7th ever, like at a national tournament, and then Azin ended up winning the tournament. But because the funny thing is, Captain Jack showed me that there was DI involved in the game, but the Americans showed Captain Jack that over in America we chain grab. So in Azin versus Captain Jack, it was basically I chain grabbed you and you don't know what to do about it. So Asin chain grabbed Captain Jack, and he was, he had a resort to using his Dr. Mario and his Ganondorf against Asin, and Asin was a Sheik player and beat Captain Jack. So Asin won that tournament, and that was the first tournament I got 7th, and people were talking about how good Asin is, best in the world now, not because he beat everybody, but because he also beat a Japanese player. So that was, I think, one of the first tournaments where I was just trying to implement something to my game, which I just learned on the day, and it didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
I should have just kept on my old style. I probably would have done better.
Yeah, the people were saying that it was like, and I think a lot of people were like, that was probably an off day for Ken or something like that, because it was just like, Sastofer and Die Superfly, how would he lose to these guys?
Yeah, that was actually the first time people were asking me what's going on? Definitely an off day or something. Did you get sleep or whatnot? And I think one the major reasons I lost that day was because I was trying to implement DI, and I wanted people to actually hit me. I would be able to usually dodge their hits or block their hits, but I welcomed an open arms, like, come hit me, so I can live your attack, and yeah, it didn't work out too well. That was the first major tournament. I mean, it was a bad ride home too. That was the first time I didn't win singles. I know, I got knocked off by 2 people that, aren't even ranked up high. So it was a pretty bad tournament for me.
Yeah. Did having Asin win it, did that rub salt in the wound, or did you feel happy for him and all?
No, after I beat Asin, game over. I mean, other than chilling dude talking shit on Smashboards, I was happy for Asin. I mean I saw he really wanted it. I wasn't kind of proud the way he won, because he chain grabbed Captain Jack like no other, but I mean, he still won. He still won. So congrats to Asin for that tournament.
And after TG6, now we're starting to get into, the FC as well, but MLG starts to come around at this time.
Yeah, after TG6, that actually hit it big. A lot of people started signing for Smashboards, like I said. It got bigger, and MLG was just starting to come around. It was a new business opening up, Major League Gaming, and they wanted to pick out some popular games to add to their roster, and Smash was one of them. They looked into Smash, and they thought they could put Smash on their roster.
Nice. And when they announced this and stuff, and you had got an idea of is this going to be potentially something that you could pursue as a career? Did that ever come in your mind?
When I first heard of MLG, I knew it was going to be big, because they were offering $1,000, $2,000 a pot. That's more money than I've ever seen in my life. Usually at tournaments, I'd have to win doubles and singles to get $800. But if I was just to win singles alone, that's $1,000, $2,000, and on top of that, it wasn't it was professionally run. It wasn't an underground tournament. It was more professional, and that's what I wanted. I wanted professionalism in the Smash community. So when they first announced it, I was I'm all for it. I will support this. I'll go to every single MLG tournament and try my best.
Yeah. And was the first MLG after FC, or was that?
I think it was before FC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How was your first MLG experience?
I think MLG first opened in the Midwest. I think it was Chicago, and I went there. It was as if I liked for undergrounds to be run. The first time I went to TG1, I saw people sleep on the ground. I thought it was going to be held at in a convention center, and it was. There was a lot of TVs set up. It was very professional. There was MLG girls going around, giving hugs and whatnot. And then, I met some of the people who ran MLG, like Sundance and Giovanni, the head of MLG now, I think, and Mike Sepso at the time too. They were partners, and it was just a new business growing up. And they were telling me, they're like, "Oh yeah, we want to make this big. We want to make this professional." And I was all for it. I was all for competitiveness, and getting Smash out of that, out of the closet, for more people to see and whatnot. And MLG was going to do that. So the first tournament I went to, It was in the Midwest. You know, I played with a lot with Eddie. I hung out with Eddie from Chicago, and Eduardo. He was Eddie's partner, and you know we played teams. Eddie was like, "Oh, I mean they're the best teams in the Midwest." You know, and Eddie and Eduardo were like all for teams. Me and Isaiah, Isaiah's all for teams, but we played teams a lot. So we beat Eddie and Eduardo for teams at MLG, and then I remember, oh my gosh, I fought this guy named Bob. He was a youngling player, and he was a big guy with beard, scruffy beard, and all that stuff. And Eddie was telling me about it. Eddie's like, dude, I hate playing that guy. And I'd ask Eddie why. He's like, you'll see. So I play that guy. He goes straight to Corneria. He picks it. He picks Young Link. He goes to the side and just camps there all day. Camps there all day till the time runs out and shoots arrows and stuff. I'd chase him. And after I beat him, I was like, dude, you realize that we could have just fought it out and I could have beaten you in like 2 minutes, but you held it to like 8 minutes and stuff. He's like, yeah, I know. I was like, why'd you do that? You took so much energy out of me. And he's like, yeah, well, that's just my style. So after that day, I gave him a nickname of Camper Bob. And after that, everybody started calling him Camper Bob. And that guy was, oh man, that guy was the worst camper ever. But yeah, I ended up winning that MLG. I think I fought Eddie near the finals. And then I think Isaiah took second. But I won that MLG, and you know, it felt good because it was a first step out of the underground tournament scene.
Yeah. Now, there were a lot of MLGs when it started coming along, because there was like, you know, looking at that wiki page of your wins, like first, all these MLGs across the country. Were you just like, would go to every single one, or is that just like?
Well, I would try to go to majority of the MLGs. And when MLG first opened up, they had a lot of MLGs like all over the place. There weren't like big national MLGs. Like they definitely tuned up their sites later on after the years passed. But the first time they opened up, they just try to throw as many tournaments as possible. Like there'd be like 5 MLGs in the Midwest, like 7 in the East Coast, and like 3 on the West Coast. And I supported MLG, so I just try to go to as many as I can, you know, and not all the players, not all the best players would go, just usually players in that region. But whenever I could, if school would let me, and you know, if I had time to do it, I would do it.
Yeah. And how did it feel to be like, because like you were winning left and right, and winning first pots? Did like you were slowly getting in all this money and like, you know, being really awesome? Are you at this point? How would you describe your?
Well, I was living the gamer's dream at the time of actually going to all these tournaments and supporting myself and using money from the old tournaments and actually at first like racking in dough. But the thing about MLG was they almost went bankrupt their first year, so they didn't really pay me until like their 3rd year. But so I wasn't getting income from MLG, but I was still making income from the underground tournaments and basically like local tournaments around here to support me to go to other tournaments. But I mean, MLG had like a big bill of paying me once they got sponsors and stuff. But I didn't get any money from MLG until like 2 or 3 years later. But at first, I was living like the gamer's dream, like playing Smash for money. Like who would have known playing a video game for money, you know?
Yeah. And I guess there was there was another like side, like it was essentially Smash and Halo, right? Halo was the one that came in and like.
Yeah, actually, at MLG tournaments, when you go to an MLG tournament, there was a lot of people for Halo. Like there's basically the whole convention center was filled for Halo, and there's a corner for like Smash players, like a setup of like 20 TVs or whatnot. So, but I mean, MLG or Smash wasn't making any money for MLG. They were just holding MLG because they thought the community was really cool. Their money maker was Halo. They actually made money from Halo and sponsors. So they supported Smash Brothers, but they weren't making any money from it.
Yeah.
So that's funny because the Smash players, the Smash Bros, would seem like jokes compared to the Halo players. Like they would get all the fame, the Halo players get all the fame, and the Smash players are like they consider it like a kid's game still.
Yeah. Now that was interesting too. It's like that dichotomy. Is the did the Halo players look down at all at the Smash players?
Yeah, I would assume that the Halo players like look down on the Smash players, because they were like first place of Smash Bros would be like $2,000. First place in Halo would be like $10,000. So it was a big difference in prize pool, and different in games, first person shooter compared to a kid's game, everyone would say. So I mean, people would go to MLGs to represent, like, to see the Halo pros more than like the Smash players.
Yeah. So as we're kind of going along in 2005, 2000, you won the championship that year, right?
2005, I think it's right there.
Right
Mike
there?
Stepso, that big check.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first one, though. That was 2004. That 2001. See, so it upgraded. MLG actually upgraded from 2,000 to 5,000 and eventually to 10,000. Like, So yeah, 2005, the final MLG. It was a big. I think it was held in New York. Was it New York? Was it New York? Yeah, it was New York. And the good thing about MLG was you didn't have to play. If you were a pro, you would be seeded already. You didn't have to be in the open brackets to get into the final bracket. So since I was already winning so many MLGs, I had points to become the first seed. So I had to play like lots of matches to get into that. Whatever. You have to be in the open bracket to get into that final bracket. So there was already a guaranteed spot for me in the first seed since I had the most points. So the best thing about MLG was it was just basically a bracket of 8 players, 8 to 16 players, and I only had to play like 4 or 5 matches to win the tournament. Yeah. Compared to like an underground tournament where you have to win like 10 matches to win the tournament. So it definitely takes a toll on you. That's why I like the MLG a lot better. So I can just concentrate on my my matchups with my main players, who I'm going up against, and try to work on that. So finals MLG, I think I think I played Asin in the finals. Was it Asin?
I think it was, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was Asin, and it was. I mean, I consider Asin my rival because the whole East Coast, West Coast thing. I didn't even actually consider they made him my rival because he was like the best in the East Coast. I was best in the West Coast. So we were basically rivals. Every tournament I fought Asin. I'd have a good time against Asin. Like I knew his play style, and my style just pretty much countered his style because, like I said, I had the grab game, and Asin is basically if you hit Asin, he'll hit you back. Like he has a really good crouch cancel game. So most of the players don't know that. They would go in and hit him, and they get hit back. And that's the thing about me. I wouldn't go in and hit Asin. I would hit him, but I'd also follow up with a grab or outsmart him, grab him, and then attack him after that when he's like vulnerable. So that's the difference between me and Asin. So I had a much easier time against Asin than most of the other pros that actually came to the scene at the time. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think that was also the tournament where me and Isaiah went against Chillin' Dude and Asin.
Yeah.
And then I said no hands.
Yes.
Do you remember that tournament?
Yeah, I saw the video from that.
Actually, yeah, that was a tournament where me and Isaiah was playing against Asin and Chillin' Dude, and there was nothing but it was in the East Coast, so there's nothing but East Coast supporters and stuff, and I just had enough of Chillin' Dude, like talking all this crap on Smashboards, and just like, dude, if he wants to play a dirty game, I'll give him a dirty game. So Isaiah and I I believe got Asin and Infinite after I hunted down Chillin' Dude, killed him in teams. It was just only Asin left. So I would grab Asin and I let Isaiah just like constantly jab him. So then afterwards I was like, I knew that he was stuck in a like Infinite, so he couldn't move. So then I was just like, I put down my controller and I was like, no hands, and like everybody saw me. All the Halo guys saw me. Everybody there saw me. And then people were like, oh my gosh, what the hell is he doing? He's not even holding his controller. So, no hands, and Chillin' Dude looked so stupid. Like, he looked so embarrassed. Like, I was basically beating his team without the controller. And then we finished off Asin, and it was so fun. I gave Chillin' Dude a taste of his own medicine for the first time. He didn't like it. He didn't like it at all.
That's awesome. He actually retold that story, and he was like, yeah, I got a taste of my own medicine right there.
Yeah.
Told me that. Yeah. That's awesome.
I retaliated that tournament. Like, I had enough of him. Just like the constant shit talk. This is even before Korean DJ, Mewtwo King, and PC Chris hit the scene, huh?
Yeah.
That's like a new era.
Yeah.
This is still like
MLG.
MLG, like
Yeah, early stuff. Yeah, you were. Let's see here.
because Mewtwo King entered the scene at Team Ben's tournament.
Did he?
Yeah, I played him second round,
Yeah.
and he was a scrub. And he was just like afterwards, he didn't stop following me around and just started asking me all these questions, like how do you do this? How do you do that? Blah blah blah.
Yeah. Was that your first impression of Mewtwo King? Was that he was like kind of a scrub and?
When I first met Mewtwo King, it was at Team Ben's tournament, H2IL, and I fought him. I just looked at him as some random scrub, some nerdy kid with glasses. Just played Fox. Weird. And most Smashers are weird, but just played him. But I beat him pretty solidly. Like it was like 3 stock, 4 stock, or something like that on FD. I chain grabbed him, and he was like, he's asking me all these questions like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? And stuff. He just won't leave me alone. Asked all these questions, and I just wanted to play more Smash. I didn't really know the guy. Just played him.
Yeah. Did you? When let's see if we can we'll touch on this really quick, just so we can jump around a little bit. Like the new crew, the next generation, M2K, PC, and Korean DJ. What did you think of PC when you first?
When I first saw PC, he just looked like a preppy white boy. Actually, like he had long hair. He was really pale. He was a Falco player. I think I kind of knew PC Chris because he played a lot with this one guy who was a Fox player online. I forgot his name, but he was like really good friends with PC Chris, and he played PC Chris a lot. So he was really technical. Didn't think much of him. Just an average Smasher, average Falco player. I wasn't too worried about PC Chris.
Nice. And KDJ.
Korean DJ. I think it was MLG. East Coast somewhere, Boston or I don't know. But when I first saw Korean DJ, like I think it was MLG New York, like I would just hear someone say money match, this and that. Like I would see this Asian Korean guy just going around money matching people. I'm like, dude, this guy is like hyper aggressive. Like he must have chugged like 6 Red Bulls or something before he went to a tournament because the guy was like hyper. Like I'm pretty cool and collective. Like I'd go to tournaments, like so watch some matches and whatever, just chill. But Korean DJ was like all over the scene. Like he'd be from one era to the next, one era to the next. I would see him play like Smash Brothers in a money match, like on the first TV. Like 2 minutes later, I'd see him like on the other TV playing another Smash Brothers. And actually, the first time I met Korean DJ, he actually money matched me. Like he was like, "Oh, you want a money match?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." So I actually like played Korean DJ, and I actually told him it was a 3 out of 5, and he was like, so then we started playing, and he actually got a couple games off me. It was like he beat me 2 out of 3, and then he was like, okay, you want me to 5? I was like, no, dude, we said 3 out of 5, and then I beat him 3 out of 5. So I beat him in a money match the first time I met him. But other than that, I just thought he was like hyper aggressive, and that's the thing about some of these like pro smashers. Like the way they play Smash is pretty accurate of their personality and who they are. Isaiah, for example, Captain Falcon player. It's a little weird, but sometimes he opens up, kind of like his Captain Falcon. Moves a little weird sometimes, but eventually he'll open up and, he'll be a really good Captain Falcon. Korean DJ, hyper aggressive. That's how he plays Smash. Like he's constantly like in your face, like hyper. He moves around a lot, Mewtwo King just totally a different story. He's just like in his own like Smash world when he's playing, just like I guess he wants to be really technical and stuff. So that's the thing about Mewtwo King, just doing the same things over and over. That's how I see Mewtwo King when he plays Smash. Like he'll do the same things over and over and over until he like perfects it.
Yeah. How would you describe PC's playing style?
PC's play style is a little weird. I think he looks for like open opportunities to go in and attack you, and he'll get an opportunity, he'll do it. As far as like his personality, like contrasting that, he's a little shy, but I guess once he sees the open opportunity, he'll go up and talk to you, whatever. Yeah, so pretty much same thing.
Well, since we're on the topic of PC, there's a series of tournaments. The New York opener, the tournament right after that.
MLG Dallas.
MLG Dallas, and then MLG Anaheim. And those three.
Oh my gosh.
Those three, like back to back to back, they, to me, encapsulate this amazing saga between the two. So let's talk about that real quick. Just the that amazing saga that you went through.
So,
And the New York opener.
actually, I've heard stories about PC Chris before, like his coming. He actually he's his coming. People were saying like, oh, he's coming out. He's starting to get good. He's getting a good Falco. And this is like, was this after I went to Japan?
This is after you went to Japan. So
Okay,
we're jumping around a little bit.
Okay, so the thing is, like, after I went to Japan, I played a credible Falco player named Bomb Soldier, and those videos were released from Bach online, and everybody got to see it, and all these Falco players started emerging, and PC Chris is one of them. So I played PC Chris in MLG New York, and oh man, that crowd like ripped me a new one. That was like they really wanted PC Chris to win. Like when I went over there, I was like, the first time, like, the crowd was very obnoxious. Like, every single time PC would do something, they would yell out his name every single second. So, I mean, the crowd got to me that tournament. I mean, I tried to keep composure. I mean, I was kind of good in the tournament scene now. I went through numerous tournaments and stuff, but you have someone screaming next to your face and stuff. It's kind of hard to concentrate and win. But I mean, PC Chris, he kept his cool. I mean, people supported him, and I played against PC Chris, and oh man, I wasn't bad against Falco players, but it was close, and I just couldn't pull it off. He just took me out.
Yeah. And then after this, like everybody's like saying, "Oh, PC, he's the new guy. He's the..."
Yeah, because I would always beat Azen. The whole West Coast versus East Coast thing, I'd beat Azen. Azen can't represent the East Coast anymore, so they had to look for a new guy. So then when PC Chris beat me, basically PC Chris became the new Azen. Like, he's the guy that can take me out. Like, he's the only guy from the East Coast that could stand a chance to beat me at that time. So, everybody relied their faith on PC Chris. DA loved PC Chris because he's from, like, New York. H2I didn't give a crap as long as someone from the East Coast beat me. And, everybody else followed from that. So when PC Chris beat me, it just, like, gave East Coast a new hope. Like, they're like, oh, we can beat him. Like, he's not unstoppable. Yeah. He's not Superman. He can bleed.
Yeah, they were looking at you. We hadn't talked about this yet. They were looking at you as kind of like the evil villain, like, because you were continually thwarting their attempts to be the best.
Yeah, because when Smash Bros. First came around, there's always like East Coast versus West Coast rivalry, and when Matt DG couldn't say that, oh, East Coast or West Coast is better than East Coast, until I emerged, and then he was like, oh yeah, Ken can beat anybody from the East Coast, like, talking shit, and then they hated that. So every single tournament I went to the East Coast, I mean, I didn't do anything to them. I was always nice, whatever. I mean, I was always polite, but no matter what, a new Smasher from the East Coast would come up, and they would already assume that I was like the bad guy, like an evil guy, or someone who's like not pleasant, So it's just every single time I went to the East Coast tournament, like, every East Coast Smasher would look at me and like dog me or something, or already assume that I'm like the bad guy or not a nice guy, and that wasn't the case. I just won tournaments.
Yeah. Did that like get on your nerves at all? Like, that kept on being the thing, or I guess you kind of came out when you said the no hands thing.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, this is the back of your head. I mean, I try to avoid it and stuff. It's not like I mean, I was just there for the tournaments. I mean, I wasn't in the Smash community to make friends or anything. And eventually I made friends, but I wasn't here to make friends. I was here to, play Smash Brothers and do the best I can. But I mean, it does take a toll on you. I mean, eventually, if someone keeps on talking shit about you, eventually, like you can just have enough of it. Just want to zone it out. But I mean, I don't hate anybody from the East Coast. I seem like if people, I'm not sure if people hate me or not, but I was already printed as a bad guy just because I was like best player at the time. I mean, Isaiah, anybody else from the West Coast would come over there. They'd be friends. They'd talk to the East Coast players, no problem. But with me, it was a harder thing.
And after this, the East Coast has their new hope. They have their Luke Skywalker or whatever.
So yeah, after PC Chris beats me, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean that 2000 was it 2005? Yeah, 2000.
Open of 2006 actually.
Okay, so that's when PC Chris beat. Yeah, the opening of 2006, I was not playing Smash as much. Like my technical skills wasn't up there. I wasn't practicing much. I was worrying more about school and whatnot. Literally, I would just go to M1G tournaments and play Smash. That's the only time I played Smash. We stopped doing bi-weeklies. SoCal had a community then, so well, we were still doing bi-weeks, not as much though. But the only times I really played Smash was either at a bi-weekly tournament that I'd host to get the SoCal community better, or just tournaments. So I just go to tournaments, not practice, and just play Smash. And I wasn't at the top of my game. I was just relying on pure mind games and my ability to adapt.
Yeah. And after this, after PC beat you, was there? Did you you go back and actually did it reignite the fire under you and be like, okay, what do I need to do to beat him next time at Dallas?
Yeah, the next tournament came around was LNG Dallas, and I knew that PC Chris was going, and I mean I wasn't worried about anybody else, but PC Chris, because he beat me in the last tournament, and I actually practiced for that tournament. I actually picked up my controller at home and actually gave some practices, some L cancels, whatnot, wave dashing, DI, things like that, to get me up there. And the funny thing is, PC Chris, we actually met again in winners finals in that tournament, and I discovered something new again that totally threw him off guard, which is like I used the Marth counter. no one would use the Marth counter. That's like a forbidden move that you use Marth. But I used it against PC Chris, so every single time he would laser me, I'd counter and he'd jump in and get hit. So I was able to throw something new in and threw him off guard, and I beat him that tournament pretty solidly.
Yeah. The footage is amazing. Like you absolutely just destroy him.
Yeah, I was definitely in better shape than I was at LNG New York, since I was actually practicing that matchup too specifically, and ready for it. I wasn't just like going to tournaments and expecting to win. I was actually putting some time in practicing.
Yeah. And then it all came full circle when you came back to Anaheim.
It's funny because it started out in New York, PC Chris's hometown, then went to the Midwest, neutral party, and then now it's going to Anaheim, my hometown, Orange County, where I live. So it was crazy. So now the funny thing is, here's the difference between the West Coast and the East Coast players. When you're on the East Coast, they tear you a new one. They talk so much shit. That's just how they do it in the East Coast. But when PC Chris was on the West Coast, when he was playing against me, no one talked crap about PC Chris. Some of them were actually cheering for him in the West Coast. They were cheering for me, and they were cheering for him. So he had a pleasant time over here in the Anaheim. But when I was over there, they tore me a new one. I couldn't even concentrate. But I mean, the thing about Anaheim was I had so many people believing in me, and I didn't want to let anybody down. So that got to my nerves too. And it was just a big stage, and I was just playing in front of everybody, and it was just me versus PC Chris again. After I beat him in Dallas, I was so confident in Dallas, but then it hit me in Anaheim that there's so many people. Most of my friends are here. I don't want to let them down. So I wasn't playing as best as I could, but it came so close down to the wire, and I ended up beating him. It was on Mute City. I still remember. I couldn't even Ken combo him on Mute City because the stages were hitting him up again. So I had to go just like forward aired him after I forward aired him again, and I remember it because he was up to a really high percentage. And there was a point in time where the cars almost killed me too, but it was just like, I mean, MLG allowed Mute City, so I mean, I did it, and I grabbed him like I think he was like 100 and something percent, and I back threw him, and he spun up, and I just smashed him, and he died, and it was a crazy experience. After that, like, it was like all the butterflies in my stomach like went out, and it was like a huge like a sign of relief, and then it's just like people like all my friends and stuff like just start picking me up and like celebrating. It was a pretty crazy experience. It was like the whole rivalry of just East Coast and West Coast in there too. So I mean, I managed to beat PC Chris from from New York to the Midwest, and then my turf, and that was it.
Nice. Yeah, they used that footage for like MLG, or like I forget exactly what it was, but that footage of you being lifted up, like by all your friends and stuff. They use that as like their big kind of promo thing for a couple times.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, that tournament actually made Smash, like the Halo players actually even saw that, so that tournament actually made Smash go up a little bit more in terms of respect from the Halo players and stuff, because it was a lot more competitive. There was rivalries, there was stories, there was new players entering the scene all the time, so it definitely made Smash like to the point of competitiveness on par with Halo. Because Halo things that happen all the time, like people were like shit talking, and they would have all that rivalry stuff. But I mean, that was the first time it happened in Smash.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like that victory in Anaheim, was that like kind of like hey, obviously you came right back at Dallas and like showed him what's what, but after Anaheim, was that kind of like you're still the king of Smash?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, the East Coast knew that I could bleed. I mean, they knew I could bleed. But after Anaheim, it showed that look, I could bleed, but I could still be good. I could still be the best. You could hit me, but I could hit you back, pretty much.
Did you who called you the king of Smash